Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So if you have previously watched my other videos, you would have known that I have been covering the topic of World War II extensively on this channel. The previous video was of me talking about the Japanese campaigns in the Pacific world during World War II, and today I will be continuing those events. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. As the war escalated into a conflict that involved every single major world power, the Big Four powers, which were the Soviet Union, the USA, China, and the UK, along with over 20 other governments, signed an agreement to not sign a separate peace with the Axis powers. Basically, what this says is that if the Allies have not agreed to peace with the Axis, none of the other governments that have signed this agreement can sign any agreement with the Axis. It was basically a binding agreement that said, no, you may not have peace if our allies are still fighting. This signing took place on New Year's Day of 1942. During early 1942, the US and the Soviet Union agreed on an invasion of mainland France, believing that it was necessary to liberate France before they took down Germany, which was true. However, the British government believed that this event, codenamed Operation Sledgehammer, would not be successful and was premature, as Germany was still extremely strong at the time, and therefore the Allies agreed on not invading France at the time. So basically, yes, even though it would have been necessary, they agreed that no, we should not do it now because it would not be good. The British finally got the Americans to agree to focus on demoralizing the German army, bombing military targets, and aiding resistance in occupied Europe. Eventually, they also settled on fighting the Axis in Africa to take out the Axis from Africa as they start throughout the year. Meanwhile, Japan was achieving major victories in the Pacific War, sinking numerous ships and capturing much territory. The Battle of the Philippines, a campaign that lasted from the 8th of December 1941 to the 8th of May 1942, resulted in a massive and decisive Japanese victory. The Filipino government was forced into exile and over 146,000 casualties from both American and Filipino troops would be inflicted. These were massive losses to American forces as one and Allied forces as a whole. The Bataan Death March, a forcible transfer of over 70,000 troops, killed several thousand alone. So basically, after the Japanese took over the Philippines, they forced over 70,000 American and Filipino prisoner of wars to walk 42 kilometers straight without rest, without food, without water, and treated them brutally, which caused them to die, obviously, from malnutrition, from diseases, from hunger, from exhaustion, and they also shot them. Throughout spring of 1942, Japan and its other ally, Thailand, in the region had conquered Malaya, the Dutch East Indies, which today is Indonesia, Singapore, Rabaul, which is an island near Papua New Guinea, and most of Burma, which today is Myanmar. Through these victories, the Japanese would become overconfident, because they believe that they could win the war, obviously. But that is obviously not the case. So, after being overconfident, they attempted to create more invasions and start more campaigns that would lead them to coming closer to victory. Unfortunately for them, their first campaign after these victories, which was the invasion of Port Moresby, was thwarted by the Allies during the Battle of Coral Sea. The Battle of Coral Sea was simply a Japanese and American/Australian battle. They thwarted the Japanese forces from invading Port Moresby over the sea, and even though both sides suffered massive casualties and the Japanese took out many ships, both sides retreated and Japan cancelled the invasion, which was good because Port Moresby was a very vital communication and transportation line to the Allies, especially between America and Australia. Allied forces continued to have success over Japan at the Aleutian Islands campaign, where the Japanese attempted to take over the Aleutian Islands, which are these small islands off the coast of Alaska and Russia, but they failed throughout 1942 and 1943. The Americans also broke the Japanese naval code. The Japanese naval code was vital to Japan as they told them which are the battles that we're gonna fight and how we're gonna do them without being seen and heard by the Allies. Fortunately, America broke this code around late May of 1942, and they now could see the exact order of battle the Japanese would engage in. They discovered that the Aleutian Islands was just a distraction, and they diverted their forces all the way to Midway, which is somewhere here in this Pacific Ocean. And yeah, they basically learn all the Japanese secrets. The Japanese lost the Battle of Midway with several of their aircraft carriers and over 3,000 troops being killed. The Japanese attempted several other campaigns, like the second invasion of Port Moresby, over land this time, but had to fight the Allies at Guadalcanal, which is another island off of Papua New Guinea. The Japanese were driven out of Guadalcanal by March of 1943, and these series of losses took a massive toll on the Axis, especially Japan, and led the Allies one step closer to victory. So as you can see, the Japanese were overconfident and they then lost. So a life lesson: never be too confident and do not gloat, do not be arrogant, etc. Okay, I will now launch several asteroids into Earth. Yep, totally normal. Let's see. Let's send one Earth's worth of water into Earth, shall we? Boing. Yep. Okay everyone, that is it for today's video. If you liked this video, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share, as this will massively help my channel grow, and I cannot do these videos without your help. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.